Um, Pastor Chris and I met 7 years ago through a mutual friend called Chris Ward, who has been here before. And yes, amazing guy. And we connected very well. I don't know whether you've ever met someone, maybe for the first time, you meet for coffee or for a meeting, and you talk. And at the end of that particular meeting, maybe it was 30 minutes or an hour, they go like, we need to do this again. And then you go like, wow, do we have to do it again? And the whole time you are thinking, you know what? Actually, I really like you because you're beautifully and wonderfully made, but I just want to love you from a distance. But on the flip side, sometimes you meet with people and you meet for 30 minutes, then an hour and a half, and you're connecting so good. At the end of the meeting, they say, we need to do this again. Then you're like, I was hoping you would ask. And that's what happened between me and Chris. We connected so well. We became friends. And I'm so blessed to call him my friend. So thank you for allowing me to be here. I'm going to just take a few minutes to share some reflections with you and a few stories. So, first off, let's give it up for Pastor Jordan. He's somewhere. Pastor Jordan. Yeah, he's doing it. Okay, thank you so much. He's doing a wonderful job. You know, if we were to end the service right now and go home, I think it would be sufficient. He said, broken people do broken things. But the beautiful thing is that broken pieces, they make beautiful objects. I read something that whenever you find you feel like you're breaking down, you know, there are some pieces, you know, your self-esteem, your self-confidence, you lose your family, you lose your respect, whatever you call it. Your kids don't even talk to you anymore. You feel like you're not a good mother or you're not a good dad. All those pieces are falling off, but God is telling you that let them fall because I'm going to pick them up and make a beautiful object from you. Amen? Let's give it up for Ted, my friend here. Ted, I've been here for 3 hours, and I feel like he's trying to make sure I don't leave the building because I'm supposed to preach. Right behind me, you know. And the worship was amazing. Thank you, worship team. That was amazing. So since I've been here for 3 hours, I think I can rightfully say there's no place like this place, anywhere near this place, so this must be the place. This is the place to be. This is a place to come and worship. Really, I mean that. You're nice people, okay? I've been talking to a lot of people. You know, people can pretend for about 5 minutes, 10 minutes, but they cannot be consistent for 3 hours. You've been very nice to me, very kind. Thank you so much. I am a married man to one wife, just one. You know, every time I tell people I'm from Africa, they go like, how many wives do you have? Only one. You know, in America, I'm only allowed to have one wife, so that's it. No. My wife is back there holding our son. That's my wife. She had to sit. Yeah, our son, Nathan, is very clingy today. He may not be feeling well, so my wife really does a wonderful job. We have a daughter as well. She's 4.5. She's on the other side of Sunday school. So thank you so much, my wife, for being here. She is amazing. I told you earlier today, and my wife doesn't like it when I put her on the spot, but she was like, when we go to Life Quest, don't make me talk. And then I told her, I'm not going to make you talk, I'm just going to ask you to talk. And she said, I just want to wave, so thank you, that's my wife. So really I want to share with you a few reflections, a few perspective and insights, and it's all from what I'm learning, what I'm observing, the challenges that I've faced, my experience with motherhood, from my own mother, from my wife, my beautiful wife, and many other women, my mother-in-law who lives in Gardner, Kansas, and so many people that have made a difference in my life. I can rightfully say that I've been a beneficiary of motherhood. I have no doubt about that. And I know for sure if it was not about the aspect of motherhood, I wouldn't be where I'm at today. My mother raised 7 children by herself. I have 4 brothers and 2 sisters. You know, something happened when I was 9 years old. My dad decided to leave the family. He left, got married to my stepmom, wonderful, beautiful woman, and they had 6 kids. And ideally what happened after, we used to live in the city, when my dad and my mom separated, we were kicked out of the city. Basically, we were told to go to the village, but I like to say we got kicked out because it sounds really cool. You know, like you got kicked out, get out of here, okay? So we were sent to the village. And just to give you a perspective, if you've ever been to a third world country, in this case, the village, a real village, is a place where you don't find a lot of resources. There's no clean water. There's no electricity. Food was hard to come by, specifically for our own family. I tell people that my story is not one of those, documentary that you watch, whereby someone found the most desperate person and they took a picture. It was a real life that we lived, where we went for days and days without food. But the most devastating thing happened because, besides not having enough resources, people are not very nice. I don't know whether you've ever experienced this, but there are some people who just don't like you for some reason. You don't have a lot, but they just don't like you. And they made sure that we knew that. It started out when we left the city, went to the village. People reminded me, now, when you live in a city, or if you have enough food, you are going to be a little chubby, okay? You eat food, your parents feed you. So I was kind of like a chubby kid, and went to the village, and they would tell me, okay, just give yourself a few months. You're going to be skinny like any other kid because you won't have enough food, and that's what happened. So people would remind us every single day that your dad left because he didn't love you. Your dad left your mother because he didn't love your mother. Nobody cares about you, and we don't care either. You see, in America, people talk behind your backs. In Africa, specifically my village, they talk right at your face. They tell you how not good you are, right? And I remember one incident that I shared that story earlier today in the first service. My brother and I, David, we were coming from school. And we passed by the market. There were men and women sitting outside a coffee shop. Now, these were people who had money. They could afford coffee. Some of them were driving. They had nice houses. And one of the ladies, she said something loudly, and I think she really wanted us to hear. And she said, you see those boys, they are going to grow up to become thieves and thugs who will be breaking into our houses. We need to be very careful. We should never allow them to hang out with our kids. Of course, as a 12-year-old, I was devastated. My brother and I, we ran home. My brother David was crying. We got home. He told my mother what happened, and my mother said something that really transformed the way I looked at things. She said, my son, and that's how my mother liked to enjoy, to address us. She would say, my son, what people say about you doesn't make it true. It doesn't. It's what you believe about yourself. Now, just remember, my mother had never been to school. She couldn't read or write. And in my books, she's still the best motivational speaker I've ever met. She was a wise woman, a wise woman. And then she said, seasons come and seasons go. This one too shall pass. Can you believe how powerful that is? Because everyone around you doesn't like you, and then your mother says those words. And those have stuck with me. So my mother's been my pillar, and the pillar for my family, my brothers and my sister. And I'm going to share with you some of the lessons that I've learned from my mother. So I'm going to tell you a little bit about my dad at some point, but let's get to the lesson today. We're going to talk about the priceless legacy of motherhood. When you think about legacy, it's something that outlasts you. It goes beyond your lifespan. It's going to be here even after you're gone. It's going to make an impact. It's going to spread out and bring change and transformation in people's lives. And that's what mothers do. First off, before I continue, can we say Happy Mother's Day to all the mothers here? Can we do that? 3, 2, 1. Happy Mother's Day. Hey, you can do better than that. 3, 2, 1. Happy Mother's Day. For all the... Yeah, you're so welcome. For all the men in the building and those who are watching online, I said earlier today, it's not about you today. It has never been about you anyway. So chill out, okay? Today is about the mothers. If I was a mother, I would milk it, okay? I would take this weekend, this month. Okay, this is first off very risky because my wife is sitting here. She might make me cook and do everything. I don't think she would do that because she loves me so much. But if I was a mother, I would milk it over and over and over again. But with all seriousness, mothers make a big impact. I get to experience that in my house every single day. It is the small little things that we don't think much about. The other day, my wife doesn't know this, but she's going to hear this for the first time. My daughter goes to swimming classes every Tuesday at 5 p.m. My wife was working that day. I took her to swimming. Now, I don't know if you know this. Men, probably you do. Women like to have different outfits. My daughter has a few swimming costumes. And then I think my wife got a new one. And that's what was in the bag because my wife puts all those things together. So I got to the swimming and I looked at it and was like, okay, it looks like a little ball. This most likely belongs to the back, okay? So I dressed her up and I was okay. Then took her to the, to the pool. And then after a few minutes, I was like, where did she go? And I looked around and I panicked. So I started looking for her and someone said, you may want to check in the bathroom. I went to the bathroom and the swimming instructor was changing, trying to fix it because I had put it the wrong way. Yeah, and it got me thinking, like, man, I thought I'm a smart guy. I couldn't even figure it out. That was my logical brain. And my wife does that. She puts together the clothes for the kids if I'm going to drop them off. So even if we really wanted all the women to give us the chance to do stuff for them, especially today, we can't do it. We need to be helped. So thank you to all the mothers that help us in that way. So now the cat is out of the bag. She might enroll me into a class on how to put on clothes on my kids. So, yeah, and I would gladly attend that class. So let's talk about the legacy of motherhood. There are 3 pillars when it comes to the legacy. And these are not the only pillars, but there are 3 that I really like. Number 1 is the resilience of motherhood. And when you think about resilience, it's the ability to stick with it until it becomes fruitful. It's the ability to hang on to it until you get the results that you want. What I've learned over the years is that the people that win are not the strongest. They are not the smartest. They are not the fastest. But it's the person who can hold on to it. Hold on to it 1 more minute, 5 minutes, 10 minutes, an hour, a day, a year, 2 years. You hold on to it until you get what you want. And that's how women get to win. Women are resilient. You know, we lie to ourselves out there. It's a chatter in the corporate world that, Desiree, good to see you. That's one of my friends. We have a chatter out there that women are weak. Men run the world. Women, no. We don't run the world. It's an illusion that we do. And women make us feel like we are. Now, it's not competition, but if we were to compete, they would win over and over and over again. Because we have just a handful of strengths, could be masculine, could be whatever that it is, but women have these consistent qualities that they use every single day. The ability to stick with something, to see the future from the present, to see things before you see them. That's why, is there any man here that your wife has ever told you, I don't know about this decision. I don't have a good feeling about it. Yeah, anyone? Yeah. And you find logically it doesn't make sense because it makes sense. But when a woman tells you, I don't have a good feeling about it, with all your ego, you may not say, yes, you are right, but you might go like, I'll pray about it. But the whole time you're like, I'm not going to pray. She is right. And then you come back after that and tell her, you are right all along. If my wife ever tells me I don't have a good feeling about this, I'm not going to question it because she'll never steer me wrong. So women can see the future from the present. So when you think about resilience, it's the ability to hold on to something until you get the result. So let's read Proverbs 31, 25 to 26. It's a very familiar passage. We talk about, Proverbs 31 woman. You've heard about that. So it says, she is clothed with strength and dignity. Stop right there. Earlier today we talked about the way, I believe all of us, but women make it very classy. You wake up, you take a shower, you do all your regular stuff, and you get ready before you step out of the house. Now, I don't know, but I just imagine that pretty much each one of you stand by the mirror and you go like, God really took time to create me. I look amazing, right? You do. And then before you step out of the door, you go like, you know what? Hey, I need some strength. I need some dignity. And you put that on. You wear that. You don't have it as an accessory. It's part of who you are. She laughs without fear of the future. We say that women have the ability to see the future from the present. She can laugh and be happy because she knows how it's going to end. We say that if you can predict it, you can prepare for it. And if you can prepare for it, you can have the confidence to step forward and move towards it. She can laugh about the future. Earlier today, and I've talked to several people, but I talked to Sue. I think she might be here. And Sue told me how she has raised 2 wonderful boys, and they ended up being in the Marine. She told me that when they were born, they had a health condition, both kids. But they have grown up to be really highly respectful and responsible people that are making a difference in the world. And normally as human beings, if a child is born with some health issues or any kind of a challenge, even us as Christians, guess what we do? We say, I will pray for you. And then at the back of your mind, you're like, I don't know how that child is going to survive. Oh my God, poor Sue, how is she going to do it? But Sue told me that she decided to pray. She told me she had an auntie who was a prayer warrior. And the auntie prayed and prayed and prayed and prayed. And guess what? The boys didn't have to go through any surgery. And when the auntie passed on, Sue told me that she decided to become a prayer warrior as well because she figured she needs to pray for her family and other people need her prayers. Now, resilience is not about the masculine strength and the power, and the way we see it is all about being able to stick with it, to see hope where there's no hope, and plant hope in other people as well. When she speaks, her words are wise, and she gives instructions with kindness. I shared earlier today, there are some people, whenever they stand up and you give them a microphone, we all kind of hold our breath. I saw that, by the way. There's a church I used to go to, and there's a dude, I'm not going to mention his name. This guy, he liked to talk, but most of the times, it didn't make much sense, whatever he said. Okay? Yeah, he would just stand up and then rumble and rumble and rumble. And his wife, I came to notice that the wife used to sit somewhere right there, second row. And every time he stood up, the wife would flinch a little bit. And then, no, yeah, she would. I mean, she would be stressed out. But then I asked her, I was like, every time this guy stands up, you flinch. Because he was our friend. And he said, because sometimes he just goes off rail. And then she told me that they came up with a code. If he talks too much, the wife would kind of just make a gesture, and then the guy would stop. Now, that's called love right there. Because you don't want to embarrass your man, okay? You're like, okay, he may not be very wise, but he is my man. Okay, he's my man. Women cover up for us big time, okay? I know with my big mouth, by the way, I can mess up big time. Just so you know, people ask me, how did you move from engineering to doing speaking, okay? 3 reasons. Number 1, I figured I can make an impact in the world. Number 2, I get to meet a lot of people. And then number 3, my mother told me that I talk too much when I was growing up. You talk too much, you talk too much, you talk too much. So when I became an adult, I was like, why can't I make good use of this? So I found a way to talk all day and get paid for it. That's why I speak. So my mother spoke a prophecy on me. I just want you to think about the countless women who, like the woman described in these Proverbs, have faced adversity and unwavering resilience. They have weathered storms, overcome obstacles, and they have emerged stronger. That's how they build their legacy. They go through tough times. They stick with it. They pray. They consult. They cry sometimes, okay? Because it's okay to feel it, but they decide to keep on moving forward. And that's how they get to build legacy, the resilience of motherhood. Pillar number 2 is the love that transforms. Love that transforms. 1 Corinthians 13, 4-7 says, love is patient, love is kind. As I was reading this passage, I figured we can easily replace some of the words with a woman or a mother. A mother is patient, a mother is kind. She does not envy, she does not boast. She is not proud. She does not dishonor others. She's not self-seeking. She's not easily angered. Sometimes she might act as she is, but she goes back. Again, talking about kids, our daughter is 4.5. Our son is 2 years and 3 months, almost 3 months, 2 years and 3 months now. My daughter she's beautiful, but she's a handful. She's strong-willed. She questions things. Her default response is no. Now, that's not something we do in our house. That's the most amazing thing, right? And she uses these big words. I'm disappointed. I'm like, who is teaching you these words? Okay. The other day, she told the teacher, I'm having a bad day at Sunday school. So she can try to push back. And sometimes, you try to teach your kids the right way. I'm one of those whereby I can put my foot down, still with love, and then I'll be like, you know what? You are 4.5 years old. You don't know what you're doing. Then I just walk away. And predictably, my wife comes around and gives her a hug to make sure everything is okay. I've observed that. That's called love, right? So you find that a mother's love transforms people, transforms situations. So, love does not delight in evil, but rejoices with the truth. A mother does not delight in evil, but she rejoices with the truth. It always protects, always trusts, always hopes, always perseveres. I shared earlier today that when we think about mothers and women, we think about, by the way, they used to be called the weaker sex. Have you ever heard about that? People called the weaker sex. Some people still believe that. That's not true. Like I said, it's an illusion. They are not weak. But the Bible says that their love protects, trusts, always hopes, always perseveres. Women are protectors. That's why we call them mama bears. Try to mess with their kids, you will know. Or she may not swing on you, but trust me, she's going to strike you hard. And you're going to feel it. You're going to pray to Jesus and God will be like, I told you, okay? I told you not to lay your hands on her. I told you to love her. Do you know that the Bible instructs us as men to love our wives? to love our significant others. They are very protective. They always trust. If you've ever had someone violate your trust, you know how it feels. But a woman, yes, you're going to hurt her, but she still picks herself up and makes things happen. Earlier today, there's a lady I talked to. She told me that she got divorced and she had to raise her, I think there are two kids, and went through a very, very, very tough time. But she realized that she had to stand up for her family to overcome really difficult situations. And now she has a grandkid. I think it's a granddaughter. And that's the blessing that you get whenever you stay strong and you stick with it. Women and mothers have that ability to do it, weathering through storm no matter what. My mother was, I told you about my mother, and when my dad left, of course, went through tough times. My mother had to work in people's farms, really construction-like jobs to feed us, to buy clothes for us. We didn't have nice clothes. Most of the times, we just wear clothes that your kids get tired of the clothes and you give them to us so many times. And I'm so grateful for the families that allowed us to do that. We would go to some of the families, we worked together. I mean, I got introduced to kind of hard labor at a very young age when I was 10, going to work on farms and digging ditches. Really, my hands were all calloused because that's all we could do. Sometimes we'd work all day for 12, 14 hours, and we get paid at the end of the day, and that's when you're going to go to the store to buy food, 7 p.m., 8 p.m., come home and boil those beans and corn. So by the time we eat, it's like midnight, and I have to go to school the following day. There are several times, and I'm not kidding you, that my mother would just walk miles and miles away, 10, 15, 20 miles away with other women to go do these kind of jobs. And by the time they get home, it's midnight. We are all laying there on the floor. We are hungry. But every time my mother came, she would just wake us up and say, my kids, I'm ready for you. Lay down. When the food is ready, I'm going to wake you up over and over and over again. There's no way to explain that if it's not because of love. Her love transformed who we are. My mother's love was a guiding light in my life, a source of strength and comfort that sustained me through life's trials. Even after I became an adult, I got a degree and I got a job and started a business. We all go through rough patches. And every time I went through a rough patch, I would just call my mother. I don't know about you, but women make powerful prayers. I don't know what it is. It looks like women and God had a secret meeting somewhere, and they agreed every time I call, it's a direct, connection. No, it's true. It really, if things are not going on very well, just talk to a woman. It doesn't matter whether it's your mother or your wife. Just go can you pray for me? And they are going to pray. So every time I went through a rough patch, I would just call my mother. And here's the interesting thing, and I learned this. I was here in the U.S., and I've been here for 17 years. I believe it was 2012. I was going through a very, very rough time. And I was driving on 435 highway, just thinking and a little stressed out. And I got a call from my mother. And she was like, what's wrong? And I said, everything is okay. Of course, she's in Kenya, 10,000 miles away. I didn't want to tell her all the problems I had. She told me, I know you are not okay. I was like, how do you know? She said, I'm your mother. I know. And I had to tell her, that's scary. A little freaky too. And that means you can't even do bad stuff because your mother, you're like, my mother. Yeah, women know. They know. They are very intuitive. It's a natural ability. God gave you that. And that's what makes you special. A mother's love is a love that knows no bounds, a love that transforms not only the lives of her children, but also the world around her. So for all the mothers, godmothers, grandmothers, it doesn't matter. We respect you for what you do. Your love goes beyond your children and your neighborhood and your church. It goes beyond that. Do an experiment. Happen to be on the street, and then you stop a woman and say, hey, can you help me for a second? First off, they'll be like, are you okay? Is everything okay? That's how they start. If you stop a man, most likely be like, what's up? Yeah, and of course they're in a hurry, like, dude, why are you stopping me, okay? Are you trying to ask me for money? I mean, we are always rushed because we are very superficial. Women are going to make sure that you are okay, and that's an ingredient we need in the world. Pillar number 3 is the strength in forgiveness. Strength in forgiveness. Ephesians 4:32 says, be kind and compassionate to one another, forgiving each other just as Christ, God, forgave you. So here's what happened with my dad. My dad left. He had 6 kids with my stepmom, beautiful kids. And at that time, he used to work for the government. He decided to take an early retirement, and he started a business. I don't know what happened. Some people like to say it's karma, whatever, but I wouldn't wish anything bad for my dad. But within 3 to 5 years, he lost it all. Lost all the money. And unfortunately, after they ran out of all the money, my stepmom and her kids started working in the people's farms the way we used to. Now the scales were kind of switched a little bit. So my brother was working. My sister was married to a guy who really took care of me and paid my tuition fee. So we were in a good place. And now my stepmom was working in the people's farms. But something significant happened. For some reason, my stepmom decided to deny my dad food. Now, when you are broke and you are sick and broken, you can't work. My dad was a big guy, by the way, really, really big. He loved food. So he had high blood pressure, he had diabetes, all kinds of health problems, and he couldn't do anything. My stepmom denied him food. So for 3 days, he did not eat. And my brother David was playing. We were still kids, and he saw my dad laying on a couch, really, really weak. Tried to talk to him, he couldn't talk. And my mom gave my brother food to take to my dad. And that was day after day. Now, she had to do that when my stepmom was not there, because I think she was trying to kill him or something. Now, kill him by hunger, okay? Just starve him to death. So after 3 days, my dad, one of the evenings, he came to our little house. By the way, their house was just a few feet away from us. My dad came. It was around 8 p.m. And when he came in, my brother David was like, what is he doing here? He was really upset. And my mother said, I want you to go to your little room and stay there. And they talked with my dad, I don't know for how long. The following day, my dad came. They talked for 3 nights straight. Then after that, my mom said, your dad is coming back. And we were like, how could you do that? After all he did to you, after leaving you alone, after just taking you through so much, how could you do that? And of course, we were a little bit disrespectful. My mother said, he is still your dad. It doesn't matter what he did, the kind of decisions that he made. And my mother said, the best gift I can give to your dad is to take care of him now that he cannot take care of himself. How do you explain that? That's love. That's forgiveness. He forgave that man. So, I was okay with forgiving my dad. I didn't have any problem. We kind of became buddies a little bit. I missed out on the times, the moments that a father and a son, they get to spend together. I didn't have my dad around to teach me how to be a man or how to ride a bike, how to do. I missed all that. But towards the end of his life, we got to reconnect. And in my mind, I thought I forgave my dad. Until 2014, I was asked to speak at a church. And I decided to tell that story. And I got emotional. I almost cried. Now, I don't know about you. Africans don't just cry. We are taught to not cry, not show weakness. We just need to pile up all our emotions and we explode. That's what we are taught. So when I got emotional, I shut it down immediately. And I moved on with my sermon. Basically, I was pretending that everything was okay. But after that, I decided to work on it. And I got on a search. What can I do? What is it about my dad that's making me so upset? And I came to realize it wasn't even about me. It's because he did not stand with my mom. He did not. I don't qualify to be a feminist, but I'm an advocate for women. I can't stand people that mistreat women. Can't stand them. Now, it's only that it's illegal. I would be punching a lot of people here in the U.S., but it's illegal to do that, right? It's illegal to do that. So I came to realize that it was not about me. I'm okay. But looking at what my mom did, going through all that, raising 7 kids by herself, being made fun of by all these people, is because my dad left. At least that's what I thought. So I had to work on myself and learn how to forgive. So I bought a book called How to Forgive Even When You Don't Feel Like It. And that book changed my life. It said when you don't forgive someone, one person and another one, it's like picking rocks or little pebbles and rocks and stones and putting them in a bag that's on your shoulder. And as you pick those, as you struggle with unforgiveness and you keep on adding and adding, it becomes very heavy. And at some point, you're going to collapse. And the author said, why don't you take that bag and put it on Jesus' hook? She said that Jesus has a hook. He says, bring it to me. Those who are heavy laden, and I'll give you rest. Okay? So you take that bag and you put it on Jesus' hook, and that's what I did. Now, looking back, I've worked on this, and it doesn't really bother me. And people, sometimes they ask me, are you mad at your dad because he left you? I'm like, no, I'm not mad. Actually, looking back, I'm glad he left. Because I became who I am today, someone who can be responsible, someone who can see the future from the present, someone who can be very optimistic and weather all these kind of storms because he left. My mother taught me all these things. If my dad had stayed, most likely, I would not have become who I am today. Number 2, And this is really important to me. I can't be mad at my dad. I make a lot of money speaking and telling stories about him. How cool is that? It's true. And that's just a gist of the story. There's way too much, so much more into the story. But here's the thing. Everything that you go through, especially mothers, is meant to bring goodness into you. There's an opportunity. There's always an opportunity. And this is a lesson for all of us. Everything that you go through is supposed to happen. And if I were you, I would document all that. Not because you're asking for pity or for people to feel sorry for you, but because when you look back, it's meant to be. People ask me, if you look back, 20 years backwards, would you change anything? And I said, no, I wouldn't change anything. It was meant to be. It was meant to be. If my dad had stayed, most likely, I would not have had a chance to come to the U.S. I would not have had a chance to meet my beautiful wife and have these kids. By the way, my wife and I, we don't come from the same village. She comes from a different region. But we met at church, the church that I go to. When people ask me, how did you meet your wife? And I tell them, we met in church. And then they learn that I lead worship. In their minds, they think I was just there worshiping when everybody has their eyes closed. I'm just looking around, trying to find a girlfriend. And then I go like, open the eyes of my heart, Lord. I want to see you. There's a story behind that. We met. I wasn't looking. She wasn't really looking, but hey, we got connected. And here's a beautiful story about my wife as well that I'll tell you. The summer that my wife and I, we started dating, there was an event at our church, and I was the MC for that particular event. And it was for someone actually who was getting married. We get together, do what we call pre-wedding, help them raise money a little bit. And when I was done, my mother-in-law, at that time with another woman, she called me and she said, Isaac, I think next time it needs to be your turn, You need to get married. And in my mind, I'm like, you have no idea that I've been watching your daughter for months. We were not dating then, but I had been watching her to see who she is. Am I safe? Is she going to be the one? But that's how God works, okay? So here's what I'm going to say about this, the strength in forgiveness, that women teach us by example the power of letting go and the power of releasing the burden of bitterness and resentment. My mother, with her gracious spirit, taught me the importance of forgiveness, of extending grace, even when it's undeserved. Her ability to forgive, to love unconditionally is a testament to the strength of her character. I believe I'm a better man and a better husband and a better citizen because of what my mother did for me. If it was me, like who I am without Jesus and without those lessons, probably you wouldn't put up with me. And that's what Jesus does. He changes it. He changes us. And women make that possible because they create that environment where we can be ourselves, whereby we can express our weaknesses, whereby we can express our hearts. That's what you do in our homes, in our churches, in our communities. Whichever environment that you walk into, you make that happen. Let's give it up for the women, please. So let me just say this as we wind up. I really want us to continue to honor and cherish the incredible women who have impacted our lives. Think about a woman who has made a difference in your life. And if not anything else, call them. In America, I see all these commercials. Call your mother, okay? Why do you have to be reminded to call your mother? Sorry, I'm not judging you. She might have done horrible stuff according to you. She might have abandoned you, but she brought you to this world, okay? It doesn't matter what your mother says. She might be getting a little bit older and repeating her stories and telling you about her garden and all the stuff that she's doing. Just sit there and listen to the stories. She deserves it. Okay? Don't get all worked up because you have a little business or you have a career or you have friends that you're going to watch football with. Give attention to your mother. She deserves it. Let us appreciate their strength, resilience, and endless love. And let us express our gratitude for the sacrifices they have made. May we never forget the privilege of the priceless legacy of motherhood, a legacy that continues to inspire and uplift us all. I want to finish with this story real quick. Many times, I've had a very good life, by the way. Kind of stepping away from the village, going to the city, going to college, coming to the U.S. A few years ago, 2019, I sat down and I said, how can I propagate my mother's legacy? Now, my mother was still alive. She passed in 2022. 2019, I sat down and I said, how can I propagate my mother's legacy? And I figured the best thing I can do is to go back to the village and impact the kids there. So I went back to the village, and my wife and I and our kids and a few other friends, we went to the village last December. But since 2020, I've been helping some kids in the village to get shoes, to get clothes, to get tuition fee, to be fed, because I see myself in them. But here's something else that happened. My mother passed in 2022. I went for the funeral, and I was given a chance to speak at my mom's funeral. That's in the village, so I spoke in my language. And when I got on stage, I looked at the crowd. By the way, my mother had a big network. We had about 800 people there at the funeral. Because even after she went through all this, she was doing very well. We were sending her money. She started helping kids in the village. So she had all this big network. When I looked at that crowd, I saw one of the ladies that made the comments that I told you about, that these boys are going to become thieves and thugs that will be breaking into our houses. And with my big mouth, I couldn't stop. I decided to say something. I was like, what are they going to do? The human side of me was like, maybe I need to buy an F-150 and just drive all through their farms and all their crops and something. That's the non-Jesus side of me. But I decided to tell them the story. My mother, the casket was there, and I told them, my mother taught me to respect people no matter their age, no matter who they are, no matter their education. And I told them, you need to be grateful that my mother taught me to respect people and to love everyone and to forgive them. And I told them, I see someone here, several other people that said this and this and this and this. And I told them, thank God my mother taught me to forgive. Otherwise, I would have come after you. And I was serious about it. And when I was done, someone walked up to me and said, who said that? I said, no, I'm not going to tell you, but I'm not holding anything against them. You see, it doesn't matter what people say about you. What's happening right now is not going to determine how the future is going to be like. What people say about you doesn't make it true. And this is a season. It's going to pass. So, to all the mothers in this building, those who are watching online, the rest of the world, happy Mother's Day. Hold your head high. Make it happen. We are rooting for you. You are the best. I don't matter who says what. You are the best. Happy Mother's Day. God bless.